Ladies and gentlemen, we made it. Welcome to the Super Bowl 59 breakdown. Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. I'm giving you the best information possible based on past trends, film breakdown, coverage data, run scheme metrics, and overall logistical information to help you make any type of pick you want on this game. We've made these all year long. We've seen a ton of success with them. As the offseason comes, we'll be doing both different sports for more pick style videos, as well as different offseason team breakdowns. So make sure you subscribe and stay up to date on that. But we have come to a crazy sub number of 13,000 this season, guys. If you're not a part of the family already, I don't know what you're doing. Everybody who already is, I appreciate you. If you've liked any of these videos so far this season, again, we'll continue doing them next year and years after that. Make sure you leave a like on this video to let me know that you enjoyed it, as well as like this type of content. Without further ado, though, let's get into this breakdown. As always, before we do, two important things. Number one, there will be timestamps in the description based on different things we talk about, each offense, different film notes I have. But number two, I want to make sure you guys know where to get all of my picks, because that is the most important part of this. I'm going to give you a bunch of information. If you want to see what I'm writing, they're going to be in 3 places, and there's 3 resources for you to get extra bonus cash to make your picks with on this game. The places the picks are going to be: Instagram. You have to be following me on Instagram. If you're not following on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing. That is the number one place to follow me. That is where all the best data comes in, as well as all the picks that I'm going to be making. Number 2, X. That's where all the live picks are, as well as my other picks too. If you like X a little bit more than Instagram, I would highly suggest you still follow on Instagram, but I'll still have a bunch of the same stuff on X. Not everything, but a bunch of the same stuff. The third thing right here, my sports pick community chalk. If you guys have not supported that and have not followed the socials on that, make sure you do. That's where all the fun picks are going to be. The Gatorade color, how long the national anthem is, coin toss, if more than 2 quarterbacks are going to throw a all that stuff is going to be on Chalked. Again, it's the same link down below. So hit that if you want bonus cash to make your picks with, though, guys. Do not forget that you can get it in 3 places. They're giving you sleeper, better, and underdog are giving you ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous offers for this big game. Half completion picks, half yards picks. Sleeper is going to give you a free Patrick Mahomes pick plus 11 free additional entries just by joining with code LEADS, LEADS. That's it. That's all you need to do. You make your $5 entry, you'll get 11 free additional entries after that. Better picks, $200 deposit match. You put $100 down, they'll give you $100 back to play with. Underdog, a deposit bonus up to $1,000, as well as another free half-yard pick. Guys, if you're making picks on the game, you got to do it on those places. Make sure you're locked in on everything in the description, all the links down there. But guys, let's talk about this game. The fact that I had 2 weeks to break this game down means I was able to dive into the film a little bit more. 4 big notes film-wise I want to talk about. The most important one, and I have noticed this really since midseason, truthfully, but I saw it with Joe Mixon. I saw it with James Cook. The Chiefs' run defense is starting to slow down a little bit, guys. It really is. And it's not to say they're bad. It's not to say they are falling apart and they're a liability in this game. But I think the Eagles will have success on the ground. And it's not just because of Saquon Barkley. This run defense is starting to get a little porous. They're starting to give up a couple more explosives. This run defense is not as good as it was to start the year and has been throughout the year. You can look like weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You had your first 60-yard rusher, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, your first 60-yard rusher, guys, in week 13. There were no 60-yard rushers in the first 12 weeks of the season against the Chiefs. But then you get back into it a little bit. Jerome Ford, granted, had a big run, had 84 against him. Nick Chubb didn't look horrible either, more than 4 yards per carry. Joe Mixon had almost 60. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren ran the ball really well. But here's the 2 games I really want to talk about. Joe Mixon had nearly 100 yards against these guys. He had 88 yards, had 100 scrimmage yards, but 88 yards on the ground against these guys. James Cook, only 13 carries, had 85 yards against these guys. I don't know how good this Chiefs run defense is compared to the beginning of the year. Like I said, they're still very good and they're still hard to run on. That's not what I'm not trying to say that, but like a couple more explosives here and there. There's a very small area of their run offense they struggle with. Like, they are not the exact same run defense that they were at the beginning of the year. The second thing I noticed in the film world, the Eagles secondary, again, a unit that's not the same as it was the beginning of the year. Let me make sure this is the Eagles, not the Buffalo Bills. But this is a team that's given up bigger wide receiver performances as of late. Like you saw at the beginning of the year, they struggled a little bit, right? Like Jaden Reed had a big game. Darnell Mooney had a big game. Chris Olave had a big game. Mike Evans in the middle of the year, like they weren't really giving up anything until the big Puka Nacua game. They weren't really giving up anything. Adam Thielen had a good game, but they were winning most of the, like, there wasn't really a signature performance the back half of the year. Then you get into the playoffs, guys. You saw the explosive with Terry McLaurin. Puka Nacua had 100 yards, and you just go look at the overall data outliers. Last 5 games, 11th most wide receiver receptions allowed. Again, much like the Chiefs defense, I don't think it's this defense that's like, oh no, we're going to worry about these guys on the outside. Like these receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. No, I think the Eagles still have the advantage in the secondary, but we can't sit here and act like they haven't been worse than they were the past few weeks comparatively to the whole season, but really the second half of the season when that defense really found its groove. It's different. It's a little bit different. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the receivers will completely dominate this game. That's not what I'm saying. But I've noticed a little bit of a step back there. Number 3, and this I am probably the most confident about, the numbers and the film. Hurts in the Eagles pass offense. It's night and day against man. It's legitimately night and day. I think I've posted 3 A.J. Brown videos over the past 4 weeks talking about this, guys. It is night and day how this offense operates against man coverage teams. You look at Jalen Hurts, 131, 128. What's that combined? 259, if my math is not mistaken, against 2 of the most zone-heavy teams in the NFL. Boom, you get a man-heavy team. He almost has that same number, that combined 259 number in 1 game. He also was a bit less productive on the ground. He's more comfortable against man coverage because he trusts A.J. Brown. You go look at the other man-heavy teams he's played. It's tough to base it off of Washington because he got hurt that game. But 290 against Pittsburgh. You go back, 221 against Washington, 202 against Dallas, 230 against Jacksonville, since he's kind of in the middle. Cleveland, 264. Like, New Orleans, again, kind of in the middle, but 311. Like, he is so much better against man coverage teams. And we'll talk about it. The Chiefs play the 9th most man coverage in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles have a great matchup through the air. A great matchup through the air, guys. And I don't want to just discount that because this is a team that's has so much attention go to Saquon Barkley, has so much attention go to the offensive line. Jalen Hurts is flat out good against man coverage. A.J. Brown is flat out one of the best receivers in the world against man coverage. I don't want us to throw that to the side. The last note I have, scroll back up here, the inevitability of Mahomes, but really the increased volume of Mahomes the second half of the year. And it's been interesting to see because it's been, I think, mainly the, I guess, addition, but getting Hollywood Brown back, getting him in the lineup for the first time. Because you look at Mahomes, like beginning of the year, it was kind of back and forth on his production. He had a few games under 200, a few games above 200. But then you just look at the past week minus the Bills game. I don't know why. Oh, sorry, minus the Texans game. This is the Texans game numbers right here. This is the Bills game number right here. It's not working. But like the addition of DeAndre Hopkins was right here. That was the first game with D-Hop, right? And that was after a 154-yard game. 250 plus, 250 plus, 250 plus, almost 200, 250 plus, 300 plus, 200 plus. Bad game against Cleveland, but they were able to dominate that game on the ground, so it didn't matter as much. 250 plus, 300 plus. Not great against Houston. Houston had a good game plan. They played well, but 245 plus and then a bunch on the ground. Like Mahomes has been throwing the football more. He's been throwing the football more effectively. And it's because Hollywood Brown can take a lot of pressure off Xavier Worthy being like the true gadget guy. He can be himself, really. And Hollywood Brown can attract people on the outside. It's also part of the reason why DeAndre Hopkins has been playing less. We'll talk about his yards projection in a second here. But there is truth to the fact that Hollywood Brown coming in has dramatically improved the pass offense. It started with DeAndre Hopkins. When Hopkins came in, I think it was week 7 or week 8, it was noticeably better. When Hollywood Brown came, I'm not going to hesitate calling it elite. Like, I think it is an elite offense right now. Kareem Hunt is also running the ball really well. Don't want to discount that. But they got to win this game in the trenches. We'll talk about that here in a second. But those are the 4 big film notes that I had. Let's talk overall number breakdowns. If you guys like the film notes too, make sure you leave a thumbs up on this video. Let's talk overall numbers for the breakdowns like we have done in the past, but I wanted to give you guys some extra film notes because I had extra time to dive into the film this week. Hold on a second here. We'll get a drink. As you guys can see, we got the cup out too. We're locked in, baby. We're ready to roll. But honestly, guys, the numbers pretty much exactly how you would expect, right? Like super balanced. Eagles defense is super balanced in terms of what they allow through the air, on the ground, what coverages they play. But there's been a couple trends last 5 and overall in the playoffs that I do want to talk about. Like we said, last 5 games, 11th most wide receiver receptions. The only marriage in coverage and target rate, they're allowing an above average target rate to the inline tight end position. And the Chiefs are throwing to the inline tight end position at the 9th highest rate. If you go back, you look at what Zach Ertz did against the Philadelphia Eagles in that NFC Championship game. Granted, game they were trailing, so they did have to throw the football a little bit more. 11 for 104. You look at Tyler Higbee, 7 for 54. The last 2 games against tight ends, even Tucker Kraft had 5 catches, but like the last 2 games against tight ends, they've been pretty productive. Now, you and I would both be dumb to sit here and say that Vic Fangio hasn't schemed up something to try and stop Travis Kelce. We saw it last year, a pretty good game plan that pretty much eliminated Kelce till the 4th quarter. We saw it last year in the Super Bowl. They were able to stop him. They were able to limit him. Again, inevitable. I get it. And Kelce had against the Bills. Not a lot of yards against the Bills. That's besides the point. But he had his first down game. So the law averages, in my mind, at least brings it up. But when you go look at his projection, again, this is on Pickett. There's also a link down there to follow me on Pickett, but you can use Pickett Pro. We'll show you how to do that in a second. Like you look at Travis Kelce's projections. I'll wait till it loads. And again, if you guys aren't following on Pickett, you will see all the picks I make, exactly where I put my money where my mouth is the second it updates. So if you're not following and you use Pickett, highly suggested you. If you don't have it, you can join with code LEADS, get a little bit extra cash when you join too. But this is a game where Travis Kelce is going to be pretty heavily involved. 5.5 catches, 6.5 catches right here. Minus 144 for 6 catches is not bad value. But when you look at the flat receiving yards, he's sitting around 60 yards. I really don't hate that, especially considering the fact that Tyler Higbee had 54 and really wasn't a mainstay in the offense. Travis Kelce kind of is the Chiefs' pass offense. And again, I think Fangio would try to take him away. But the Eagles have struggled pretty badly against opposing tight ends the past 2 weeks. Really, the past 3 weeks, because Kraft had 5 catches too. But Higbee, Ertz, bigger games against the Eagles. And I'm like, okay, well, why can't Travis Kelce do that, even if those guys aren't the main options? Why can't Kelce produce at a similar level or at a similar clip against a defense that isn't wildly different from what the Chiefs have seen? Because the Texans compared to the Eagles are very, very similar in terms of defensive structure, how much cover 4 and cover 6 they like to play, which again, Travis Kelce had a really good game against, but not inherently different from the Bills either in the too high world. So I like Travis Kelce. I don't know if I could confidently take him up to 60 yards, but here's what I'm going to do. And you can do this on Pickett Pro, like I said. Let's say you really like him to get 50 yards. You can see that right here. It's minus 196 for him to get 50. So you don't want to bet that straight, right? You want to pair it with something else. We'll talk about A.J. Brown here in a minute, but let's talk about it. We'll say A.J. Brown's going to have 50 yards as well. You can do that. You can pair them together. And boom, you can see here, guys, like on all these other apps or other sites, like minus 118, minus 125, minus 115. Pickett Pro allows you to automatically find the best odds for whatever parlay, whatever bet you're making. Automatically allows you to do that. So if you're putting a substantial amount of money on this, like let's say you put like $100 on this, right? Put $100 on this. All of a sudden, by using Pickett Pro, if the bet hits, going to wind up making about 20 something extra bucks. You do that a couple times, it's going to pay for Pickett Pro's membership. It's $25 a month. Highly suggest you get on it. I personally do use it for that reason, to find the best odds. If you don't want to pay, I get it. Pickett free is great, but that is what Pickett Pro would look like for something like that. And Travis Kelce is one of my favorite watered down picks to put in with something else for this game. And again, all the picks I'm making, Instagram, X, and Chalk, you got to follow below. But regardless, that is what I like there. I talked about the similar defensive structure Kansas City Chiefs saw against the Houston Texans. And, the performers were pretty predictable, right? Kelce had 7 for 117. But in the other world, nobody else really produced, right? It wasn't a DeAndre Hopkins show. It wasn't a Hollywood Browns. Like Xavier Worthy was the guy, the number 2 guy, excuse me. But the real guy I need to talk about is Kareem Hunt, because this guy's been running the ball really, really well. Eagles' run defense is very good. Do the Chiefs have any type of edge when you look at the overall run rate? No. The Eagles, 22nd yards per carry defensively, 22nd yards per carry, 24th in overall rush yards, the 9th highest explosive run percentage, but the Chiefs are the least explosive team in the NFL, so I don't worry about that too much. Kansas City's 31st in yards per carry, but they still run the ball a lot. Believe it or not, they're 9th in rushing attempts in the NFL. Now, the Eagles are significantly worse against zone, oddly enough. 8th most zone yards per carry and the 2nd highest success rate. Very briefly, if you guys don't know what success rate is, it's essentially staying ahead of the chains and winning the down. So in order to have a successful first down, 3+ yards. In order to have a successful second down, you cut the distance at least in half. So like a 2nd and 7. If you got a 4-yard game, that'd be successful. If you got a 3-yard game, that's less than half, you would not be successful. Then 3rd and 4th down is just converting. So the Eagles are essentially allowing other teams to run the ball at an efficient and successful rate when they run zone runs more than man gap runs. Now, Kansas City's not wildly efficient in anything they do on the ground. I told you that. But they run way more zone than they do man gap, which to me says, okay, if they can keep this game close, Kareem Hunt's going to wear him down over time. Like, I don't hate Kareem Hunt rushing yards. I really don't. When you go look at the straight projection for it too, it's a little bit lower because they are playing a good defense. Now it said 39.5 at -135, but let's find the real number here. Like 42, 43. Guys, this is going to be a close game. I don't hate that at all. I really don't. And he's been playing a lot more than Pacheco. He's been better than Pacheco. Truthfully, I really like that number for Kareem Hunt. Outside of that, though, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, it's fun for Xavier Worthy. I like his scrimmage yards just because I think they're going to find new ways to use him. But that's really it. On the other side, the Chiefs defense, have not been great as of late, guys. I'm going to call a spade a spade. They have not been as good as they've been. They have not. 13th most wide receiver receptions in the last 5, or overall, 11th most running back rush yards in the last 5 games, guys. That's super important to note. 4th most wide receiver receptions. But like I talked about, the most important thing by far here is the man-to-man rate. We need to have a heart-to-heart quickly here. Look at me for 30, 40 seconds. There is no player more predictable in the NFL in terms of how they're going to produce against a certain coverage than A.J. Brown. Almost 30 less yards per game against zone, 2+ less targets per game, 2+ less catches per game against zone. Nobody improves from zone to man, really like Jalen Hurts, but A.J. Brown specifically, guys. Nobody improves like A.J. Brown does when he plays man. When you go look at this data, thank you for the heart-to-heart. When you go look at this data, man-to-man, A.J. Brown sees a 16% target increase against man. 16%. Devontae Smith actually sees less targets, but Goddard sees more. Dotson sees more. They're throwing to A.J. Brown. If Jalen Hurts sees man-to-man, he's throwing to A.J. Brown. It's not complicated. Now, here's where the chess match comes in because, Spags is on the other side. When they played in 23, I believe, but like after the Super Bowl, between the 2 Super Bowls, A.J. Brown did not have a great game. He was hurt, but he did not have a great game. So, maybe they put the chess match in, but they didn't have Saquon Barkley then. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm going to do everything I can to stop him, make Jalen Hurts beat us. That could mean to lead to more one-on-ones, and that's the reality, guys. In the playoffs, the Chiefs are getting targeted almost exclusively out wide in the slot. A.J. Brown's a main out wide guy. You don't need me to tell you that. But, Eagles are throwing outside at the highest rate in the league. And even though they're not throwing to the slot at a super high rate, it's not really that different compared to where else they're throwing the football. They're going to get A.J. Brown the ball if he's one-on-one. They're going to get him the ball if he's one-on-one. And if you go look at his projection, truthfully, guys, if you're already following me on Pickett, you'll already see it. I already took it. I already took his yards. Already did just straight. Get this out real quick. Come on now. But the bottom line is this, guys. Like, he's averaging almost 90 yards per game against top half man teams, and the Chiefs played the 9th most man in the NFL. I don't know what's going on right now. Why is it not working? There it is. Okay. But look at this, guys. Like, 70 yards is way too low. Way too low. Way too low. I'm already on it. Like, I don't even hate laddering this up to 80. I don't hate laddering it up to 90. Also, longest reception. Like, a 25-plus yard reception is absurd to me. If you go look at his game log against these man-heavy teams, look at his longest reception in every game. And again, Washington, Superman-heavy team, boom, 31-yard catch and 96 receiving yards. Dallas only, well, he, I guess, didn't really play much of that game. But again, Washington, 97 and a 45-yard catch. Pittsburgh, he had 110. Only a 21-yard catch here, so maybe we lean away from longest reception, but 110 yards. Baltimore, 66 yards, so down a little bit, but, not bad. Again, LA, more zone heavy, but Devontae Smith did not play this game, so you kind of push that to the side. Dallas, 109. We had the Bengals and the Giants, 80+. Browns, 116. And Green Bay, that 67-yard catch, guys. Even though Green Bay is a very zone-heavy team, if you remember that catch, it was one-on-one man coverage with Jair Alexander. The bottom line is this. A.J. Brown's going to take advantage of man coverage. He's going to take advantage of man coverage, and Jalen Hurts is going to give him the opportunities to. Now, does Spags do something to get away from that? Maybe. But A.J. Brown is going to dominate man coverage, and he's going to see, in my opinion, a good amount of it. The only other thing here, like man gap-wise, Eagles are extremely balanced. They're very good in what they do. They're better in zone, but they're very good in man gap. The only aspect of this, the Chiefs are giving up the 11th highest success rate in man gap scheme runs. Now, I told you the Chiefs' run defense is getting worse, but we need to look at Saquon's game logs because they have not played somebody like Saquon Barkley yet. That's the bottom line. They have not played somebody like Saquon Barkley yet. And you look at his past games, like he touched the ball, you carried the ball only 15 times against Washington because they were blowing him out. They won like 32 points. 200 yards on the ground against LA, 119 against Green Bay, 167 against Dallas, 150 against Washington. This dude is on a heater, guys, a heater. And I am trying to be on whoever has the hot hand in this game. I know Mahomes is playing well. I'm not denying that. But this is the hottest player, you know what I mean. This is the player who's playing the best in this game. This is the player who's playing the best, running behind the best offensive line in this game too. I go look at his rush yards. 110 is too low. Automatically just too low. Now, I don't know how confidently I would take this straight, but that number to me is too low. I'd feel comfortable at 120, like debating 120. But if you want to put this with something else, like 90 yards, let's say, I love it. If you want to put 90 yards with anything else, again, all my entries for that will be on my Instagram on X below. I love it, guys. I love it. Outside of that, though, I'm really just looking at Jalen Hurts throwing the football to A.J. Brown. Saquon's going to have, I think, a good game on the ground. And I don't know. I guess I got to give you my bottom line and my prediction. Look, I said it on a podcast in August. I put a pretty hefty wager on it on September 5th. And I talked about it all offseason. Anytime I made predictions throughout the season, I'm sticking to my word. And my word was the Eagles. They walked into the season as the best team on paper, in my opinion, and they have come together, in my opinion, as the best team on the field. The Chiefs' offense is very good. I don't think they've seen a defense like Philly's yet. The Chiefs' defense is very good. I don't think they've seen an offense like Philly's yet. I get it. I completely understand why anybody would not want to go against Mahomes. But here's the thing, guys. Everybody knows that now. Everybody's on it. You don't believe me? Check this out. Everybody knows you don't go against Mahomes. You don't pick against Patrick Mahomes in the big game. And I get it. And truthfully, the past couple of years, I have not, regardless. You don't do that. You don't pick against Mahomes. Well, guys, look where the money is. 60% KC, 57% of the bets. That's just for the winner. Now, spread, people are taking the Eagles with a point or two. I don't mind that. But, everybody now knows you don't fade Mahomes. Well, this might be the time you do. I think Philly wins this game. If I had to give you a score prediction, I'll go 30-23. I truly do think they have their way offensively. I truly do. And I think the Chiefs can do enough offensively to keep it close, but not to beat the Eagles. That's my prediction. Comment your score predictions in the description in the comments. Guys, I appreciate the support throughout this regular season and playoff run. Obviously, we'll have more content throughout the offseason, so make sure you subscribe and join the family if you haven't already. God bless you guys, and if you have ever watched a video throughout this 2024-2025 season, just know I personally appreciate you. We will continue to get this thing going, continue to grow this thing. Thank you guys again for watching. God bless you, and have fun this Sunday. Enjoy your game.